Hi, today we're joined by Nils.
Morning, everyone.
Okay, cool. So, in today's episode, as mentioned, we're going to be rapid fire creating a persona based on randomized items. We're going to be looking at different types of personas. We're going to be looking at different business types as well as categories, and lastly, a situation or problem that we need to solve. This aim of this episode is to show how personas usually work, how we can build one out, and how it would look for each and every different business situation that you might come across.
Awesome. Yeah. Exciting.
Cool, I'm so excited. Starting off with the different types of personas that we have in this draw. We have buyer personas, stakeholder personas, architect personas, edge case personas, and jobs to be done personas. So let's have a draw to see which persona comes up. Ooh, for our first persona, we have an edge case persona. Cool. And then let's look at the different scenarios that we are trying to solve for. So one, you have a social scroller who needs a quick aha in 3 seconds. We have a trend follower who wants what's new and examples. So this is on your page, your landing page, or what your business has to offer. We have new customer learning the basics and needs confidence in order to buy your product or interact with your service. Next, we have help me make a decision quickly with confidence. And lastly, help me look competent in front of my boss. So these are the main issues or scenarios that we would be solving for. Let's see which comes up. Okay, so trend follower who wants what's new. So the scenario or problem that we are solving for is finding out how we can help this trend follower find out what's new, what's happening, how to keep ahead of trends, how to follow trends, and as well as examples.
All right.
And then we're looking at the type of business that we are. So are we a bootstrap startup? Are we VC-backed scale-up of about 10 to 200 people? SMB or local business of 10 to 100 people? Mid-market B2B service firm, so like consulting, an agency, legal firm, or enterprise large organization. So what sort of business are we? Okay, so mid-market B2B service firm. Think consulting,
All right.
agency, or a legal firm. Last, what sort of business are we? Okay, subscription meal prep kitchen. So thinking of the type of business that we're a B2B service firm of a consulting agency or legal firm, think subscription meal prep kitchen. So Niels, how do we factor in all these things that we found out into creating this business? Let's discuss who is this business, what are they trying to do, who are they, etc.
Yeah. So, okay. So, what did we say? 50 to 500 people, big company
Yes.
size, right?
Yes.
Okay. And their business model is meal prepping on a subscription. So, they're
Okay.
like
And they're
a rather
B2B as
large
well.
firm. And yeah, so maybe they are like a meal prep company that does like the lunch service for other companies. It's like a
Exactly.
professional caterer, I guess. Professional caterer. So that means also they're probably rather local. I mean, 50 to 500. That could already mean that they have multiple locations, like multiple cities going on. Like if the delivery staff is also part of the maximum 500, then I'd say like including like cooks and everybody who's running the business side of stuff, maybe like 2 to 3 cities in one country. So yeah, I suppose they're not international yet. They're not in multiple countries. I'm always thinking about the Europe case where countries are small. So also keep that in mind. So I'd say 2 or 3 locations, 1 language, and probably breakfast and lunch service is most important for smaller businesses who don't have their own kitchen but who want to offer like benefits to their employees, I would say. So maybe it's
Okay.
really something their customers, I'm thinking about, for example, our client SumUp, like they have different days where they have like a big kitchen, like they have like a a place where everybody can gather, but they don't have their own cooks or anything. So they would order service from such a business. So they come in and then they have different themes also, right? Like then it's the Italian day or it's the Moroccan day or something like this. And yeah, and I would say that probably, I'm actually not sure, but like that their customers in turn are maybe people in an office, more than I actually don't know. Maybe so even people working in a factory have lunch service, but I suppose like that this business would be so big that they have their own canteen. Like then they have their own kitchen, so to say. So I could imagine other offices or even co-working spaces as their customers. What do you think?
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I think that's spot on. I really like that we're working with that. So it's the business that provides ready-made meal plan subscription meals to big companies that have multiple offices in multiple cities, and they usually supply to their internal canteen and they cater to breakfast and services. Now, if we take it a step further, the sort of persona that we need to build is an edge case persona. So, what would be an edge
Right.
for this business?
Well, okay, so maybe trying to imagine from our own experiences, like I don't know, like I'm going back to my Berlin times where there's like a lot of co-working spaces or yeah, like scale ups like who have their own offices by now. And so the typical employee knowledge worker employee at a company like that. They could have any role from programmer to sales or business function. And I would say they are probably like between 20 something and 40 something. So they are not our edge case. They're like the median crowd, I guess. Maybe there's someone who just falls out of this roster. So, like I imagine there's always like the bigger part of the crowd is like like they fit together, but maybe there's like like the software engineering oracle who knows something very specific and is just like already in their 60s and just have like a ton of experience. Somebody like this could be the edge case, for example, because
Okay.
they don't typically fit into that crowd. I don't know, it's the first thing I could think of.
Oh, that's actually quite interesting. Okay, let's use that example. So you have the 60-year-old Oracle software engineering person that the entire company heavily relies on, and they want to make and keep this person happy.
Exactly,
However,
and feel integrated and so on.
exactly. However, they are extremely spoiled because they know that the business heavily relies on them. And recently, they downloaded TikTok and have been looking at new and interesting trends and different ways of cooking, specifically really niche recipes and food interests. And this subscription based company needs to cater to them.
Making it super hard. Yeah, but probably not impossible. Totally. Like that this would happen. I like
Yeah.
it.
So let's start shaping out our persona. I will share my screen. Okie dokes.
Cool.
Just make it a bit bigger. Okay. So starting with our project title.
Yeah, just call it like subscription-based food company or something like this. And then inside our edge case is the persona that we're making.
Okay.
No?
Let me
Yeah.
just say edge case persona. Persona. Cool. I'll just leave it at that for now. So this page is just for our project title and just a brief description. It's optional, it doesn't have to be there, but it's just that we have it in mind. Well, now let's create this persona with all the information that we have. So persona title.
What do you do here? Do you give it like a name? Is it like Klaus? Or what's like a good best practice for naming your persona?
That's a good question. Okay, so the example here is that we have finance lead. So let's stick to that and say 60-year-old software engineer.
Just something descriptive.
Yeah, so that you have that in mind. And then let's begin with the prompt. So the first thing that we discovered was what sort of persona this is. And I think that would be important to put in. This is an edge case persona, not our usual target audience. Okay. And then what's next?
Do we still have to talk about the business
Yeah.
in this case?
Cool. So let's discuss our business. Cool. So if, let's say, for example, we are this business and we have meal plans that we are thinking about but not sure about, we would drop these supporting files in here. But for now, I think we're starting with the most minimal information, and that should be enough for us to create our persona. So let's go ahead and generate it.
Awesome. So yeah, I mean, this is something that I really enjoy about this. As with many other AI tools, I think in all of the critique and uncertainty of what to do, I think what everybody agrees on is that AI or LLMs in this case are just a great way to get off the blank canvas. And right, I mean, we started to make personas a web tool integrated with AI after all. Also because, yeah, like we always thought creating a new persona after all the research that we did is such a daunting task. Like, you just have these coupled squares on a PowerPoint slide. And like the translation process from everything going in there is just so hard because you immediately have to compress and create an overview and so on. And I think starting like this just makes it super easy because you have something and then in the categories that you have to think in and work on those.
Yeah, for sure. I think what I also, in addition to what you're saying, what I like about it is that even if you might not have distinct research documentation and recordings in place, but you know what your business is like and you know what you're trying to do, as minimum information as you have, you're still able to use that to create the persona that will drive your business forward. On that note, let's go ahead and have a look at the persona and see what do we have in mind, what works and what doesn't work, and fine tune it from there. So starting off with the title, so we have this edge case persona of the 60-year-old senior software engineer. They're a 60-year-old highly valued senior software engineer at a 50 to 500 employee company based in all these 3 locations. He's smart and particular and chooses premium eco meals subscription mainly for trendy Instagrammable breakfast and lunch that fit a knowledge worker office routine despite being older than the median employee. Cool, spot on, basically what we had in mind. Okay, let's have a look at his profile. So as mentioned, he's quite senior, he's a key contributor, he values quality, consistency, and effective routines. He's older than most of his colleagues, but enjoys staying current, especially through trendy, visually appealing food choices. And cool, we have some of his information here. And looking at his profile, is there anything that you think we should change or edit?
Well, maybe let's talk about the schedule. I think the profile is not bad at all.
Yeah, what I do want to change is that we know his age. That,
Yeah,
as
not a
well
range.
as, let's say, we know that he is married and has grandchildren at this point. And has 4 grandchildren.
Maybe also seems like someone who enjoys, to stay fit and is like a sporty type. Like if you're
Amazing. Yeah,
particular about your diet and stuff.
exactly. Cool. So we'll keep that there. Let's save our changes. So we were able to edit and really zoom into what we have in mind and fine tune what we liked and what we didn't like. So moving on to the daily schedule that you mentioned, Niels, walk me through it. What do you think?
So it seems to start very early, but it's not super packed, right? Like, yeah. What does it say like from top to bottom?
So he arrives at 8:30 at the office, checks priorities. Around 9:30, he's going down to the canteen to pick up a meal. and wants quick, clearly labeled.
Also, he's a breakfast guy. All
He
right.
is a breakfast guy. He
He
is a
wants the
breakfast.
breakfast. Okay.
Yeah. And after breakfast by 11:30, he had some deep work and meetings. Then by 12:30, he's doing his lunch pickup as well as scrolling through some social media because he likes to keep young and ahead of trends. By 3:30, he's moving into his afternoon focus and he wraps up his day around 6 and leaves the office.
So he really does take advantage of both services, which probably like breakfast and lunch, right? Which makes it even more important that those are spot on. I think it's interesting to think about the fact that both breakfast and lunch probably have an option to eat in the canteen or to pick up and take to your office. Like, I didn't even think about that before, but I can totally see that that's something that people would do if they're in a rush, that they just grab something and actually eat by themselves in their office, like scrolling through emails or something like that.
Yeah. So that's quite interesting because as the business, you'd need to have in mind that your meals are not always going to be dished out into a plate and eaten at the canteen, but sometimes it's a pickup. So the way in which it's presented in whichever sort of like material or boxing or takeaway, I don't know what it's called, needs to be it needs to be arranged in a way that it's lovely to look at and caters to the to this educated persona who wants visually appealing food choices that are trendy and possibly also healthy.
I bet they're supposed to be healthy. And on that note, I was just thinking, so you have someone who's, senior and valuable. They have a packed schedule to do stuff. So they're both like in a rush, probably, especially for breakfast. Then if it like they're like a, sporty, want to stay young kind of person, so they will want to know what's in the food. Like they need a quick overview of ingredients, probably even like the source of stuff. Like I can just imagine this person asking where this banana came from, or
Yeah,
something, like something like this.
that's so
So
interesting.
you have to be fast. You have to like you probably have to put up signs that very clearly state which meal has also allergies and stuff like that. Like I can just imagine all of the discussions when if you don't have the signs at the queue, then people like this person are going to ask questions, which stops the entire queue, and then people get impatient. And it's like, work. So you need pretty display, good queue management, the information about what's in the meals, right? Where it came from. And then also the option to, well, dine in the canteen or to pack it up in a box and take to the office.
Okay,
And all
that's
of
super
that is
interesting that you
probably
say that.
has to run very smoothly.
Yeah, it's really interesting that you say that because I feel like they are all assumptions based off of the daily schedule that we're looking at. And if I
Yeah.
was this business, this is something that I'd want to find out. So I'd want to find out how important is clearly labeled food sources. Yeah, so quite important actually. I spend most of my day in a shared office kitchen. People are busy, fridges are crowded, and I don't want to play guess the container at 12:30. Clear labels mean I know immediately what's mine, what's vegetarian, what's fish, what's yesterday's experiment from someone in sales. Also, at this age, I do pay a bit more attention to ingredients, not in a paranoid way, just I like knowing what I'm eating without decoding tiny print or asking around. And honestly, when the food is nicely labeled and well designed, it signals professionalism, same as clean code. You trust it more. Then,
See? I know my people.
yeah, you were right. You were so right. You were so right.
I
So,
Know the
Neil, with
nerds, I
this,
can tell you that.
yeah, yeah. So, what's really great about this is that with this information, I, as the company, now know that, okay, this is something that I really need to pay attention to labeling the food to say what it is, as well as labeling what sort of food is it? Is it vegetarian? Are there some allergens in here? And yeah, it's really great to know that an assumption that we had based off of looking at his schedule, we're able to get some sort of confirmation into a hunch that we had and take a really informed business decision from that.
Absolutely. Like, I think it's pretty mind blowing actually that we went ahead, and like kind of created our company in a lottery, like with different aspects of what it's supposed to be, and now we want an educate instead. And we just wrote like a couple sentences to come up with this, right? So obviously, this is not super grounded in our own research, but this is really, as we said like a minute ago, like a starting point for you to get in there. And so if I really were this company now, right, and this would be my first question, I could also imagine me going, well, the response is very interesting, but I didn't really, like, how can it know my persona so well? So I could also see that people start to have doubts at this point. But I think this is really an awesome opportunity in this chat to, like to find the places that might be worth getting more specific about. So if you look at this and you think like, well, I mean, this could be the AI just imagining stuff. Is this is this really what these edge case personas, like this type of person at our target customers, what they are like? And so now you can just go out, find a couple and talk to them, right? Like find this profile of person and actually just do like a discovery research interview, talk to them about what they think is important, how they came there in their life. And then you can use like transcribe all of this interview, for example, and chuck it into here, like to make the persona even more on target, because maybe they're different, maybe they are exactly like this, but then you'll know, right? Like you can build up your confidence level very quickly, I think. And this is just a way to discover where to put your research first, I suppose. I don't know. What do you think?
Amazing point. Yeah, yeah, I fully agree. That's such an amazing point. And like you mentioned, once you have your insights, once you have your transcription, you're able to click and attach the file here to help make decisions that are more rooted in your actual research.
Yeah, I think it would be very interesting to now, like talk to 3 to 5 examples of this specific persona, have an interview with them, and then like, what would you do now? Like, you probably update the entire persona with the transcript, or would you update like one specific profile section? And yeah, what would you do with the material concretely? Like, if you have 5 interviews in your pocket now.
Okay, cool. So if I had 5 interviews in my pocket now, I would select this button here, which allows us to update the entire persona profile, because I think it's really important for everything to be shifted or rooted in what you have discovered. So I'd update via AI, and here when I select update via AI, I would add maybe additional information, maybe some key points that are super important for me to keep in mind. Or if I don't want to do that, I'll just select to add in the supporting text file. So the actual interviews, the transcripts, some summaries that you might have, anything that's of interest and that is important to keep in mind. From there, I would generate with AI the new and revised persona profile.
Awesome. Yeah. And then maybe also shout out from the technical side of product dev. If you do that, like whenever you change the persona, you actually get a new entry in the version history. So you can also see like when did you update your persona, right? So there's already this one change that you did on the profile, and then you can always go back. And like this feature we're working on. So if you have an update then involved uploading documents, for example, then we'll soon have the ability to, at every version, you can also see the documents that were part of this update. So you actually have some, almost like an audit trail of how your persona developed over time, which is something that is really impossible with how personas work today. You can be very tidy and keep every PowerPoint file that was like a version of your persona, but also there you have the issue that you don't know which information was actually used to create this new revision of the persona. And this way you can actually explore this quickly. You upload 5 documents now, and then you can ping pong between the versions and see what changed overall in the profile. And then just go ahead, ask the same question in the chat and see if they still respond the same way, or if they now come along and say, I don't care about where my food comes from. It's more like fuel and I need to work. So could be that the persona switches over into that mode because all 5 people said something like that. Could be that it just stays more like in this profile as it is, because we also, just for the back of all of your heads, since we're using large language models to create the persona here, they can be so interesting and spot on, even if you just based it on a couple sentences, because the models were trained on such a vast amount of data, right? And what LLMs can do really well is to, in this vast amount of data, try, to pick the similarities to what you're saying. And so probably a lot of people before have described our edge case persona in some way or the other. So yeah, to me it's really fascinating that I had this idea about this person, from my experience in the past, and that it exactly came out like this, that it said, well, yeah, of course, and I have to stay healthy, and it's important to know, because, yeah. So I can imagine where that came from, and so can the LLM, just because it's trained on all of this data. And the more you upload specifically for your persona, the less it will rely on the general data of the world, so to say. So you have it in your hands to really hone in and make it specific.
Amazing. Cool. So let's dive in a little bit deeper into our persona by looking at some other attributes that they might have. So when looking at their personality, they are quite particular, they are image conscious, they are right in the middle of experiment seeking and risk averse. They have low involvement and detail orientated, so they're more detail orientated, as well as quality driven as opposed to budget driven. So what's nice about this is that one, you're able to edit it. So let's say, for example, you find out that actually they are more flexible than specifically particular. You're able to change the values here to reflect who your persona is. Also, what's nice is that you're able to find out why. So when you update with the data and some of the interviews and reasonings, you're able to see why are they more particular than flexible? Why are they more image conscious than private? So, for example, they are more image conscious than private is because they explicitly want trendy, Instagrammable meals. So you're able to see the reasoning behind every single attribute on this persona, which helps someone, let's say, for example, you send it over to another team member and they might not know the exact information that you put in here during your interviews or what you found out during your interviews, but they're able to understand the reasoning behind this persona. So this ideally brings you just a little bit closer to who your user is and understanding who your user is. So for now, we'll end it there. However, Nils, thank you so much for joining this episode. It was so much fun. And yeah, can't wait to see you in the next episode.
Cool. Thanks for having me. And yeah, I'm also looking forward to exploring more practical use cases.
Amazing. Cool. Thank you.
See you.
Bye for now.